Greetings and salutations. This is the voice of Loquacious of Herd, bringing you his afterthoughts on My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Season 7, Episode 2, titled All Bottled Up. I heartily suggest you find and watch the episode itself, sans commentary, before proceeding with either this Afterthoughts review or viewing my full reaction, which is hosted at the link in the description. Please support the official release. Be warned, this Afterthoughts review will contain spoilers for the episode itself. With that out of the way, on to the review. Here we have another slice-of-life-ish friendship lesson episode, one which further explores Starlight Glimmer, this time by focusing on her friendship with the great and powerful Trixie. Given the nature of the season premiere, this is exactly the sort of fare I was expecting from this season. Needless to say, this pleases me. We start off with Starlight working on a gift for Twilight and her friends, some tea cakes for their upcoming trip to Manhattan. Trixie Lulamoon is there, working on a transformation spell. It's not going well. Mostly because yelling a teacup at a salt shaker while blasting it with magic isn't exactly how one finesses the powers arcane to evoke transmutation. Starlight diverts a portion of her attention to assist Trixie after Trixie asks her advice. As a result, Trixie succeeds in casting the spell, repeatedly. Huzzah for friendship. Also, there are now considerably more teacups in the castle. The ratio of cups to pots, pans, and plates is off. Don't think Twilight won't notice the next time she stops by the kitchen. Also, what is this horrible abomination against nature? A teacup poodle? No. Just no. That's the sort of monstrosity which makes ponies drop to their knees, raise their hooves to the heavens, and cry out in horror, "What hath magic wrought?" Seriously, somebody dispel that transformation. It's disturbing, yo. Trixie's delighted by her newfound trick. She gives Starlight a grateful and enthusiastic hug to express Trixie's happiness in both her new powers, but also in the dear friend who helped make it happen. Of course, in doing so, she ruins the tea cake Starlight has been working so carefully on. Starlight is understandably upset about this. As for Trixie, Trixie is being super extra Trixie today. I love it. Her central flaw of narcissism is proudly on display, standing hand in hand with her love for her best friend. Clearly, whatever else Starlight has going on pales in comparison to the good times hanging out with Trixie, right? Trixie is best pony. Starlight should be proud of Trixie as Trixie is of herself.
Yay, Trixie! You're so great at magic and having good hair!
Trixie is pretty great at magic, at least the entertaining stage magic sort of tricks. And she does have great hair, gotta give her that. She also has enormous difficulties with friendships, precisely because Trixie is the sort of pony who can only rarely look past her own wants and needs, most particularly her want and need for attention and praise, to see how her words and actions are actually impacting those around her. Even if, and perhaps especially when, Trixie actually does care for the other ponies in her life, or at least in her vicinity, who are being affected by what she is doing. Trixie likes Starlight, they're best friends. In some ways, being best friends with Trixie seems like being best friends with a house cat. As far as the cat is concerned, whatever you are doing is far less important than paying attention to the kitty. Thus, if you are distracted by, say, reading a book, the best possible thing is for the kitty to hop right up in the way, sit on the pages, and demand petting and praise. Kitty don't care if what you're reading is a mindless distraction that's just killing time, or a life-and-death attempt to gather critical information. It's not the kitty, so it can't be that important. Whether with a kitty cat, or our favorite attention horse, this is a dynamic that can be deeply amusing and delightful, or wildly infuriating, depending on the circumstances. And unlike a kitty, you can't just dump Trixie on the floor with a "shoo, go away, I need to work on this other thing right now, there will be time for praise and petting later." Even if that sort of pushback is exactly what Trixie needs to learn to respect Starlight's boundaries. Trixie is not a very empathic pony. She sees herself as wonderful, as the best thing to have around, so why wouldn't other ponies feel the same way? Again, that narcissism, that unwarranted pride. Trixie is exactly the sort of pony to be completely blind to the not-so-very subtle signs of growing irritation with her presence, or with her intrusion into activities or interactions where she wasn't invited and isn't helping. In short, when Trixie's around, it's always all about Trixie. All Trixie, all the time. Given this aspect of Trixie's character, the fact that she enjoys sharing the spotlight with Starlight is a sign of exactly how much Trixie cares. She cares for Starlight as much as Trixie cares for Trixie herself, and as should be abundantly clear, Trixie really loves Trixie. Annoyingly, amusingly, aggravatingly, hilariously so. And now we've got our conflict. Trixie's being Trixie. Specifically, she's being inconvenient Trixie. Trixie will be included, damn it, no matter what's going on, so she's kind of competing against every pony else for Starlight's attention. And I must thank this episode for reminding me of a delightful Tumblr series. What a pity that Inconvenient Trixie is no longer being updated. I found it fun. In much the same way that I found watching Trixie's antics in this episode fun. Perhaps this episode will spark a resurgence in those funny images, only with Trixie being inconvenient for Starlight rather than Twilight. We can always hope. While the reaction for those of us who are stuck interacting with an inconvenient Trixie can perhaps be best summed up with a face hoof and a "Goddammit, Trixie," it can be a delightful train wreck to watch. So, Trixie's unrepentantly messing up Starlight's offering to the main six. Something that was important to Starlight, but not Trixie. Again, that narcissistic streak. Why should Starlight waste time and energy on her other friends when she has me? This would seem to be Trixie's natural reaction to any subtle or implied suggestion that her misbehavior was becoming irksome. Trixie don't do subtle. She does over the top. Sometimes over the top is good. Other times, well, it can fall flat. Joking about Starlight going back in time to fix problems, yeah, that's a big ol' splat right there. Trixie is making Starlight mad. But it's important to realize that Starlight has some understandable worries about that whole getting angry with friends thing. Starlight and getting angry about things have a history. One that's kinda led to some, let's call them deeply regrettable incidents in the past. Hello, I see the conflict they're setting up here, and I like it. I also like how they shuffle the rest of the main six off to the side, leaving the story today focused firmly on Starlight and Trixie. Okay, so there is this parallel story, a second-tier plot, about Twilight and the rest of the main six traveling to Manhattan to do an escape room puzzle as a friendship and bonding experience, which is totally cool. But in the context of this episode as a whole, I can describe this B plot using one word. Filler! Don't get me wrong, I thought it was great filler. Sweet, fun, pretty, enjoyable, and a pleasant bit of time wasting. It let the writers and voice actors have some fun dialogue. It let the art and animation teams play around and show us some beautifully crafted scenes. It even gave us a song. And it served as a no troubles here counterpoint to Starlight's current troubles, troubles everywhere day. Still, no big lessons were learned in the B-plot. The comfortable rehash of the main six being good friends and having good times, and perhaps learning that bursting into song might not always be the best thing to do. While, as mentioned before, I found much fun, well, let's just say it really didn't contribute that much substance to the episode. So yeah, filler, icing, sprinkles, something spread between the main portions of the episode to sweeten it up and decorate it further. There's nothing wrong with filler when it's used well, and as I'll discuss a bit later, I think this episode used its filler quite well indeed. But back to the conflict. Trixie's being Trixie. She's extra full of herself today, especially since she can now monopolize Starlight's time, so she's being an inconvenient Trixie. This is pissing Starlight off, especially since Trixie's just being Trixie is what started the whole vanished map incident in the first place. But Starlight is afraid to bring the issue up for fear of damaging their friendship. I find this quite relatable. There's been times in my own friendships that I found myself thinking, dude, I really like you and you're a good friend, but right now you're really pissing me off, so please just go away, okay, thanks, bye. I think we've probably all been there and done that. Or been the annoying so-and-so that our friends would like to get away from for a little bit. Not permanently, of course. These are our friends, after all, and being our friends, we like being around them. Mostly. But sometimes. Oh boy. Sometimes your friend steamrolls through your attempts to help them, ignores your advice, brazenly overreaches in a fashion that wrecks some pony else's stuff, because of course it never seems to wreck their own stuff, and leaves you as the one on the proverbial hot seat with your other friends, leaving you hunting for the suddenly vanished magical artifact that belongs to your mentor, the one who's trusting you to keep things under control back on the home front, while they're also letting you crash at their house. Okay, so that last bit turned pretty specific to this episode, but still, teleporting the plot device? Cutie map? Not cool, Trixie. Not cool. And then blowing it off like it ain't no thing? Ah, I see Starlight has hit a new level of anger with her friends' no longer just disruptive, but now genuinely dangerous shenanigans. The red pulsating storm cloud emerging from her horn level of angry. Anyway, Starlight must needs find a coping strategy, one that doesn't involve blasting Trixie directly with Starlight's own considerable mystic wrath. Also, neat bit of information about Starlight's character. I like how her magic, or aspects of its potency, are linked to her emotions, so the angrier she gets, the stronger her magic can become. The problem is, of course, that magic drawn from anger is likely to do some pretty mean things, and if she loses control of her anger, the whole blasting Trixie directly with Starlight's own considerable mystic wrath thing I mentioned earlier might become an actual thing that happens. So off Starlight goes to bottle her anger up, literally rather than metaphorically. Spike is once again on point. He's been a great supporting character thus far this season. I like how they've been using him. Skeptical Spike is skeptical, but he's also all, you do you, to Starlight, while simultaneously diving right in to help look for the missing map. Time to resolve this serious problem. Only Trixie is taking this about as unseriously as is possible. She's mostly just pleased she mastered a teleportation spell. Okay, mastered may be a bit much. Got it to work at all is more accurate. So, off a super smugly pleased with herself Trixie and a pissed off and worried Starlight go for an afternoon stroll around town. Starlight's frantically hunting for signs of the map, trying to work with Trixie to see where the attention horse's mind might have jumped to when dumping the cutie map out of the aether. Lots of leads from Trixie's rambling thoughts. Leads like cinnamon nuts, shopping, and snacks. It's all fun and games and visiting and showing off as far as Trixie is concerned. Starlight keeps on bottling her growing anger. Seriously? This situation? Trixie is the worst, and I love her for it. This is a ticking time bomb. Somewhere, Discord must be going.
Oh, I'm going to need more popcorn.
Also, gotta say I love Bulk Biceps and the mini hats he wears around Ponyville. Masseuse, cinnamon nut vendor, and personal trainer. Go him! The journey around Ponyville, hunting for signs of the missing cutie map, with Starlight bottling up her rising anger at Trixie's lackadaisical attitude to the current crisis, continues to showcase some of the difficulties of having a friend like Trixie. It's also quite amusing to watch. In the end, Starlight is badly drained. Much of her anger, and thus the current fuel for her magic, is bottled away. The effort has left her exhausted, and Trixie's become curious about the glowing bottle in Starlight's satchel. She wants to look at it. A struggle ensues. The result? A broken bottle, and all of that pent-up anger is now infusing Granny Smith, the unnamed jeweler pony, and Bulk Biceps. Those three begin chasing Trixie around, shouting at her and venting Starlight's frustrations with her friend. It takes Trixie a while to catch on to what exactly is happening here, and Starlight's too tired to intervene effectively. Admittedly, Trixie is busy dodging the attacks of her magically enchanted assailants, and apparently the jeweler pony has taken hat-throwing lessons from the James Bond villain Oddjob. I can see how this would be a bit distracting for Trixie. But eventually, Starlight admits that all of this rage is in fact her own, and in admitting that, she's able to gather it back out of the other ponies it had infected. Starlight owned her anger, and, most impressively, Starlight also admitted that Trixie, being Trixie, couldn't really be expected to notice how angry Starlight had gotten if Starlight wasn't willing to discuss her feelings openly with the attention horse. Trixie Lulumoon has a number of positive personality traits. However, picking up on the not-so-subtle signs that some pony disapproves of Trixie, that's not one of them. Props to Trixie! She admits that while it was hard to hear criticism, she did need to hear it. And she's totally fine with forgiving Starlight this little magical temper tantrum. Starlight's passion, even her anger, is something that Trixie loves about her friend, although that line's delivery seems intentionally designed to provide fuel to the shippers. When coupled with Celestia's quote last episode that there's no wrong way to fantasize, I find such nothing to see here, there's something to see here, sly winks at the fandom to be quite amusing. Communication and mutual forgiveness and the anger issues are now resolved, leaving only the matter of the missing table, which, in a truly sweet moment, Trixie now remembers she dumped at the spa, because Trixie had been thinking about how happy she was that Starlight was her friend, and that thought had reminded Trixie of where they had first met. Aww. Table retrieved just in time, and all's well that ends well. I liked it. And especially I liked the whole Trixie learning magic from Starlight dynamic. In part because, as Trixie said,
We can do this because we're amazing, and magic is friendship and stuff.
the conflict between Trixie and Starlight seemed very real, very believable, and very grounded in both their respective characters. It offers a great moral about how it's okay to be angry with your friends sometimes, and that good friends will work past all that and stay good friends. You don't have to be perfect to have or keep friends. Real friends will forgive you and put up with your imperfections, and help you to overcome them, to grow into a better person. Real friends will inspire you to want to improve, so that you don't make them have to endure your less than stellar qualities. This isn't a particular lesson we've gotten from My Little Pony yet. It's nice to see that even returning to the whole friendship problem and friendship lesson structure, the show can still find new and amusing stories to tell us. And this story, this conflict, wouldn't have worked nearly as well with any of the available pairings in the main six. So it's also nice to see how the show is happily incorporating what had been secondary characters into primary roles. Now, my more astute viewers may have noted that I've not really mentioned all that much about the main six's friendship retreat, other than to judge it filler. Really good filler. The primary conflict stretched out just long enough, I feel. If they'd devoted the whole of the allotted time to it, I suspect it would have either dragged on or become just painful to watch. They kept it at an amusing level of Trixie cluelessness about her "I'm so awesome" mentality was both the cause of the current problems and a wildly inappropriate reaction to Starlight's own freaking out about those very same problems. And part of what made the whole experience fun, rather than grating, was how they kept popping away from the conflict, with some lovely jump cuts, to the main six and their escape room outing. When the main substance of the primary plot looked to get too heavy, the writers expertly slathered in some cute, sweet, sugary fluff. A pretty distraction, a breather from the struggles that Starlight was going through, and a nice counterpoint to show that friendship is often just about having fun with people you like. They even managed to poke fun at the whole singing friendship songs thing. I'm delighted that the main six's spontaneous outburst of song is the reason they didn't beat the previous record time. So in short, when I say this episode has filler, this time I mean that as a compliment. The same way I might look on a delicious eclair and say, "Ooh, that has some filler in it. Custard." Oh, right, well, that's really all I have to say about this episode. I enjoyed it. I felt it was a nice continuation, a good first regular episode after a low-key, transitional, rather slice-of-life season premiere. And if this is a look at the general feel of what's to come in the rest of the season, I can definitely say I'm eager to see what awaits us in future episodes. If you wish to see my full reaction to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 7 Episode 2, titled All Bottled Up, the link, as I mentioned earlier, is in the description. Feel free to leave any comments or likes for that reaction here on this Afterthoughts review. And until next time, as always, kindly remember, y'all are awesome. Stay awesome.